Sorry, mama. The only reason I say that because she went to UT. Which is why I grew up a UT fan, which is why this kind of it's a little close for me. So this past, not this past summer, but last summer, in the midst of everything that was going on in the country, following the killing of George Floyd, and people in America finally realizing that Black people have been getting treated like crap, for 400 years, people
Right.
started realizing that there was stuff in this country that needed to change. And we saw businesses kind of do some stuff that was mostly window dressing. It wasn't really anything for real, but want to symbolize that they're with Black people and with us and are in this fight for social justice, which is whatever. um and then you started seeing other stuff, and one of the big things was that the University of Texas football team made a call for the band to stop playing the song "The Eyes of Texas," which is the school song that they play before and after each game. And their reasoning behind it was because um there is kind of a racial undertone to the song, that Black players obviously aren't okay with. And now that we're, fixing stuff and going back and finally making changes in this country, let's go ahead and change this while we're at it. The problem is, with a lot of issues, the rich white man. And the rich white man at the University of Texas, being the donors and everybody else, weren't too happy about this. And these are the people who, are donating a lot of money to the school, to the football program, or whatever, keeping everything afloat. Um, and so stories came out this past week or so about a few players literally getting threatened, by saying, they can play somewhere else, they're going to stop donating, whatever. Couple quotes for you. One donor, whose name was redacted, in this quote said, "It's time for you to put the foot down and make it perfectly clear that the heritage of Texas will not be lost. It is sad that it is offending the Blacks." And I'm gonna get right back to that. As I said before, the Blacks are free, and it's time for them to move on to another state where everything is in their favor. Another quote: less than 6% of our current students' body is Black. That's at the University of Texas. Um, this quote goes on to say, "The tail cannot be allowed to wag the dog, and the dog must instead stand up for what is right. Nothing forces those students to attend UT Austin. Encourage them to select an alternate school now." First things first, and I quoted this on Twitter. Um, and when I sent it to you, you said it right to me, exactly what I'm talking about. Anytime the term Blacks or the Blacks is used, whatever is coming out of that quote is complete garbage. It's complete BS, and there's so much racial undertone to this. It's ridiculous. It's not even undertone at this point. It's just flat out racism. You know,
I
like
wonder I wonder how the person who said it says black. Like, some people say black so strongly and
yeah,
so thick. You're just like,
yeah.
bro, that sounded racist.
Yeah, like you didn't even like take the racism out the bottom of it. You just like you just said the Blacks, like
The
with the
blacks.
with the countryest accent you got. This said, yeah, my great granddaddy owned you Blacks, great grandparents on the plantation. That's one. Number two, um, we are in 2021. This was in 2020. I get it. Look, I understand that there's a place in the world and in society for traditions, and certain things that have been done for a long time. People have family traditions, people have stuff that they do with their kids or their friends or whatever. Tradition has its place, and that's one of the big things I love about college football is tradition. Like, there's more tradition obviously in it than like the NFL or any other sports, right? But some traditions are traditions that are long past, past their time and need to be done away with. And and I think that one of the big issues here is some people value tradition over anything else and value what they think is right and value what they think should go and want that to, be in place over what somebody else is saying.
Right.
And here's a big part of that. Look, don't get me wrong, before knowing the history of it, playing NCAA football or whatever, or watching the Texas game, I'm singing "The Eyes of Texas" just like I'm singing UH school song. I love it. Grew up loving it. Whatever. But knowing what you know now, you don't have the ignorance excuse. and you're still saying we should still keep playing it because it's the tradition. Now that makes you look like the idiot instead of the players, because the players never looked wrong in this. And look, me and you, especially you, we took shots at Tom Herman all the time. We had no problem doing that, especially when they went to Texas.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But
How they
he
got fired?
definitely right. But he definitely got put in a bind because he's in a position of, okay, well, my team is kind of like right now, I might get fired. So what I can't do is piss off the donors, because if I piss the donors off, I'm definitely getting fired. But he also wants to stay behind his players. Not saying that the first position is right, but I can understand the position he was put in. So, but he at first, when the players first said it, he was gung ho about it. He was like, "Hey, look, all right, my players are saying this. I'm with them. We shouldn't be playing this anymore. Let's go. Let's talk to whoever we need to talk to." Even the band was like, "You know what? Just to ease any problems, so we don't have any confusion, because the team is saying this and the donors are saying this." The band was like, "We're not showing up. We're not going to even go to the games, so it's not even an option, right?" So everybody's doing this except the rich white man, because like the documentary Rush Hour 2 said, anytime there's something going on, follow the rich white man. That's what he said. It's the same situation. They're so gung-ho about this tradition that they don't even care what the players who, let's keep in mind, guys, talking about the owners in the NFL. Same thing in college football. If the black man's not on the field playing this game, nobody cares. No, your school's not making that much
Exactly.
money.
This
Your school's not getting notoriety. Your school's not getting funding from Fox and CBS and ESPN and Disney and ABC. Nobody cares, because you're not playing football. You know how I knew about schools growing up? Because of their football teams. And granted, I understand I'm an exception because I pay attention to all sports. But like most schools I knew about was because of sports that I watched growing up. And that's a lot of what happens. Like you can look at numbers of enrollment for schools after they have like a big season. Like after UH had that undefeated season of 2011, enrollment skyrocketed. After the Peach Bowl, enrollment skyrockets, and that happens all across the board. So without the free, let I remind you, free labor of these black athletes, you don't no nobody cares about your school anyway.
one of the donors said the school percentage of blacks was like 6%, and they don't
Mm-hmm.
have to come here. Sir, the percentage of the football team is like 85,
Right.
90%. So if you
Mm-hmm.
telling the black people who are registered at your school to transfer, you telling the talent on your football team to transfer, with an exception of your quarterback
Mm-hmm.
and a couple other people. But if
Right.
you think about the most famous Texas Longhorn, who is it? A
Vince
black
Young.
man.
Vince
A
Young.
black man.
Right.
Like, come on now. But at the end of the day, even he, we saw the tape when he had that altercation with the cop. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? We not above anything. Okay? We not above anything. At the end of the day, the white man gonna let you know where he stands on a certain
Mm-hmm.
issue, and it don't matter. Even though you bringing in the money, it don't matter. They're gonna say what they want to say, because it's a lot of deep rooted racism.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that this man said the blacks, that's where I stopped reading. I said the blacks,
The blacks.
the blacks. I see why
Dude.
he wanted his name redacted. The
Right.
blacks, come on. And then the man who said the school only 6% black, they can transfer. This man didn't even want his name redacted. I said,
Right.
oh, the
Like,
gall.
oh man, you meant that, buddy.
I
Okay.
said the gall. What was his name? Larry Wilkinson.
Mm-hmm.
I said the gall. What is wrong with these people? I
Right.
mean, at the end of the day, we not surprised.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
we be reading this stuff, but we not surprised.
At
This
the, at
this
this
is America.
and it's so sad to say, but racism don't surprise me no more. Just like you said.
Oh
It's
no.
like man, there's so much but between this and what we're gonna talk about later. It's like, why do you look? I get it. I get it. Like I said, tradition. It's great. I love it. I love when there's old school traditions. People wearing like the whiteout at Penn State. It's great. Like I would love to see that in person, or just other stuff. Like I would love to go see Texas OU. Seeing the split down the 50-yard line, red on one side, orange on the other. I love traditions, but at a certain point, you got to understand that certain traditions need to be done with. Like there's no place for them in the 2021 society anymore. I mean, you look at hell, because it's down the street from you. But you even looking at school names, like, I don't know, schools named after Robert E. Lee, where all your athletes, where a lot of your athletes are black. As a black man, I would have been so mad. I'm so glad I grew up where I grew up and didn't grow up in like East Texas or like West Texas, where there are schools all around there named after Robert E. Lee, and they're all either the Raiders or the Rebels. Like, you have to, there's certain stuff that needs to be changed. And this is part of that. On that list of stuff that needs to be changed, this is on that list. This is at the top for these guys. And again, these are the guys that make your school notable. If they weren't for them, you would be giving money to a school that nobody cares about. But they care about it because it's the University of Texas, and they have, look, argue with me all you want to about what's the best football school in Texas. Obviously, it wasn't UT this year, but overall, we can argue about that. We can talk about them, A&M, TCU, SMU, all that stuff. I don't care. We can talk about that all day. But what you can't deny is this is the most notable school in the country, in the state. This is the most notable football state in the country. Without these athletes that you're talking about, you have no program. Or you might have a program, but it ain't gonna be that good.
Right on, brother. Right on. Well, these blacks are gonna move on to the next
No,
topic here.
no, speak. Hold on. Since you said that, you know what, stuff like this. We talked. Last year there was that kid that went to Howard instead of going to a D1 school. Well, not D1, but like a bigger name program.
PWI.
Yeah,
predominantly white institution.
We're gonna start seeing stuff like that, especially if stuff like this keeps coming out. Where
are we though?
Look,
I don't believe so.
You know what though? I will say
I don't think so. Especially in football, you're not going to a SWAC over a Big 12 or over an SEC school.
I understand there was a father-son relationship here, but Deion Sanders' kid could have went to a bigger school had he wanted to.
But I'm saying you're talking about you're gonna start seeing a shift. I don't believe that. These players are, especially if I'll be honest, like if I'm a player coming from a struggling situation and I get offers from SEC, Big 12, ACC, I'm not choosing a SWAC conference because, for one, I'm not getting near as much publicity. Pause. I'm not getting anywhere near the notoriety like at all.
But okay,
so I don't see a wave.
Hear me out.
Now, granted, do I think the people who are doing it, like the guy played basketball who chose Howard, do I appreciate him for doing it? 100%.
Yeah.
Because that's what needs to happen. But you would need to have like a lot of people do it because right now the SWAC conference is just not that good.
Well, okay, but hear me out. What I'm saying is, if there's a kid right now, top quarterback in the country, and he's black, and he says, you know what? Thank you, Texas. Thank you, LSU. Thank you, Tennessee. I'm going to Prairie View. There would be coverage of that, and people would be tuning in to see Prairie View's games. It's just like, you look at stuff like Carson Wentz, or I don't remember his name, the kid that's coming out of North Dakota State this year. If you're good enough, people will see you.
But who did North Dakota State play, though? When I say SWAC, I think the SWAC as a whole, they don't have that much talent. So, granted, you can throw for 600 yards a game against, I say, a SWAC team. But at the same time,
But if more people are coming there, then you have...
But you just said, if you have the top quarterback.
No, but
I'm thinking one player.
No, you're right. But if you have that kid, if you have the top guy going there, there's going to be people that follow. Now it's going to take a lot for that to happen. It's going to take a lot for that to happen.
You would need a large group of people to commit to doing this, and then that way we can see a wave of change. Right. But one player deciding they want to go to, like, basketball is different. I could go to a TSU, like a top player can go to TSU and still, get some notoriety, because at the end of the day, there's still a chance you can make the tournament. Football, completely different. Yeah. You need a couple of years of perfect seasons to even make the college football playoffs if you are in, say, a SWAC conference. You know what I'm saying? So unless the rules were changed, I don't see how that would be. But I'm just saying, if you want a shot at winning it all, I could see why you wouldn't choose HBCU when it comes to football.
And to the original point, to the donors at UT, um, I need y'all to chill out, and I need the people everywhere who don't understand that traditions change as just like times do to get it together, because we don't need stuff like this no more. We don't need people, threatening people's scholarships and essentially their livelihood, because these kids are trying to make it out. They're trying to make it to bigger and better, and you are trying to hold them down because of a song.
Trying to hold down the blacks.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, mm,